Welcome to the studio tonight. I thought I would do another Valentine's Day card. I've got a little card here, and I've drawn on it a couple of jalapeno peppers. I thought if we kind of arrange these peppers in the shape of a heart, they would look like a heart, give some indication of Valentine's Day, and maybe you want to give it to somebody hot and spicy. I don't know. Anyways, here we go. I'm going to use the left side here as where my light source is, so I'm going to just kind of paint a little bit of yellow in there. That'll give it a little bit of a different color, a little bit lighter color after our reds mix together, and that'll be a light source. So I've got a red I've mixed here. It's kind of an orangey red. For whatever reason, I'm going to use that in the background. Here I'm going to use a little more traditional red color pepper in the front, and here we go. You can see this red is a little fuller, a little richer red, if you would. And I'm just blocking in some base color here, just getting some color on paper. We'll do some tricks with it here in just a second, but we want to get our shapes on there the way we want. I'm just mixing up a little bit of color here, and there we go. Back into that yellow. That will keep an undertone, that will hold our undertone for us and keep that kind of a highlight there instead of just having a sharp white highlight. And back into my darker red, my richer red, I guess, as I'm calling. I believe it's alizarin crimson, but I'm not sure. I've changed the colors out so many times in this little palette. There we go. Our basic colors are on there. Now what I want to do is kind of intensify our colors along the areas where we might have some darkness or some shadow lines. And here we go. I know that's down kind of along the bottom of this pepper. While the paper is still wet, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to put this color right in there. That's going to bring a little darkness to the bottom of that. We might have to go back and touch that up just a little bit at the end, but we can do that later. Again, early on here, we're just dropping in some color, just letting it do what it wants to do on the paper. Here we are, putting in some color just away from our light source. You can see it there. And just maybe a little bit more up the side of our pepper here. There we go. We just want to make sure we get some darkness on there to make this look as round as we can get it to look. It doesn't have to look perfectly round, but we wanted to get it to look a little bit round. So now I'm mixing up a little bit of green for the stem that I have, and I'll move my palette into the picture. Here we go. I've just got a squirt bottle. My green isn't working with me here. I'll give it a little squirt, and that should help to loosen things up a little bit. There we go. Got a little bit of green in there anyways. I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm looking to see what I want to do. I've actually gotten a slightly smaller brush here. I'm working with a stem. Is a much smaller place. Alright, I'm mixing just a touch of ochre in with my green to dull it down just a little bit. I'm imagining that these peppers have been sitting in a bin in the grocery store for a little bit of time, and they don't have a really vibrant green stem on them, so some of the color's gone away. That's fine. We'll just continue to mix in a little bit of ochre, and that'll take that down for us. There's one stem done. And let's come up and do the second one. I'm just going to pull out a little bit of the red color that's there while it's still wet. That's fairly easy to do. And go in right behind it with my green stem color. There we go. Just touching that in however it wants to go. All right, so I need to think about what I'm doing here. How do I want to go? I think what I need to do is make sure that I have some roundness to the stem and some roundness to my peppers, make them look a little bit more real. I'm just going to mix up a little fuller color here, less water, more pigment. Again, that same green and the same ochre color. Maybe just a little bit darker of a color. There's my Van Dyke brown I'm mixing in. The ochre wasn't quite dark enough for what I wanted to do. I need to be able to see a little bit of a shadow line on there. There it is. That looks pretty good. I need to watch my field of focus here. I just looked at the camera and I'm a bit out. There. Get it back to where we need it to be so that we can see it. All right. I think what I need to do now is to dry this so we can finish these peppers up and finish the rest of this painting. All right, I've just dried it and I'm back. I've been testing. You can see my palette's got a few extra colors on here. I've been deciding whether I want to do a yellow background behind it and keep it fiery and hot, or whether I want to do a blue or a green background. While it was drying, I did a little bit of a test. If it's a straight green, it looks a little too Christmassy, a little too red-green, so I'm going to go with a blue-green color. This is a Viridian and Vermilion, I believe, mix. And I'm going to vary the intensities of both a little bit. If it gets a little bit more green, it's a little bit more Viridian. If it gets a little more blue, it's a little bit more Vermilion, I believe. All right, and I'm just going to keep a wet edge on here. I want this to run out and bleed out. I don't want a hard edge there at all. If it's going to spread out, that's fine. I'm okay with that. It kind of gives it a nice look. If you've seen me paint, you've seen me do that on some of my other paintings as well. And here it's just a little bit more green than blue. And right on around. And what we're doing is, rather than just leaving these peppers be as they are, we're putting this background on. The fact that there's so much green in this background is going to help to give some punch to these peppers and give them more of a feel like they're actually sitting on the paper instead of painted on the paper. And when you use contrasting color or opposing colors, one color will make the other color jump off the page when you look at it, and that's why we do that. I'm just going around the stem here. I want to have a bit more of a blue tint as I go around the stem. The stem is itself already green, so I don't want to have a green stem with a green tinted background behind it. I'm going to put more of a blue tint on it, and then as I go down towards the peppers, more of a green tint. All right, here we go, right up around there. Just putting on a little bit of color. There we go. And as I'm looking at these peppers now, that we've got this nice background on there, this nice mottled, really runny background, our peppers are looking just a little flat. I don't know if you noticed that as we started to paint. They looked good before we put our background on. Now they're looking just a bit flat. We're going to take care of that right now by readjusting our red Just going to put it on in a bit of a pattern, again, on the bottom side where the shadow would be. I'm not using a shadow color. I'm using a more intense red, more pigment in it, less water, and that's just, it's not going to be a hard shadow, but it will appear as though it's a shadow. It's in a bit of darkness. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I hope that I am. I hope you can see what it's doing here. There we go. Let me turn this page. Now I've got the outside of this all wet, and I've got to be careful that I don't touch that blue-green color, lest I get it on my hand and it start to get all over me. Now that the bottom part of this has some nice roundness to it, I'm going to do the same thing up at the top. Just, you want to get on the top shadow, you want just a touch of color out at the edge and not much on the other side of it. Oh, I'm sorry. You want a touch of color at the edge and then blend it straight in. All right, I've gone back to my orangey red here. See, now I did touch it with my hand. Going back to my orangey red, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put on just enough that I give myself the look of a little bit of roundness on these peppers. They look a lot better already. There we go. And we are just about done. A few quick touches, a shadow under that leaf, and we're about done. I hope you enjoyed this Valentine's chili pepper painting. Subscribe to my channel. We can paint together again. Give a like if you liked it. I enjoyed painting with you, and I hope to see you back here in the studio again. I'm just going to sign this pepper and then sign off right down here. There we go, my Valentine's chili peppers. Thanks so much for watching. I enjoyed painting with you tonight.